Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at the AMD Ryzen 5 8600G that we've got here. Currently in the UK, November 2024, this retails at around about £150. Now I did actually look again today and the price has gone up because, well, we've got Black Friday coming up, so obviously the prices will be inflated slightly, only for them to drop them slightly for the sale season, which, yeah, sucks, but it's the way it is. So what I wanted to do in today's video is, some of you may have already seen a previous video where I purchased this. This is the B650i Night Devil motherboard from Jinyu, and I wanted to put together a very, very small form factor PC for just general use and also some light gaming. And I was actually very surprised actually how well the 8600G does in terms of its gaming prowess. Now I will say, if you're planning to build a system, mini ITX or otherwise, and you're thinking of the 8600G, and there is a possibility that you're going to be using a standalone graphics card at some point, I would severely think about avoiding this altogether. It isn't really for that purpose. This is designed for those really, really small form factor PCs where there's no possibility of an add-on graphics card, and to get the most power you can out of a CPU APU combination. So for a lot of people, this is going to be kind of like the mini ITX builder's dream, but only for now. On the horizon, we've got the Strix Halo coming out from the AMD team, which allegedly will have somewhere near 4070 mobile type characteristics. So that is going to be something pretty special. I'm guessing it's not going to come in at £150. So for those of you that are interested, we're going to go through, talk about this a little bit more in some depth today, and also look at some of the gameplay that I've already recorded, just putting this thing through its paces in some of the games that I often play. So let's take a look at the specs of the processor to begin with. So this is a 6-core 12-thread part. It's built on the AM5 platform. In terms of what it compares to, so if you think of something like the Ryzen 5 7500F, possibly even the 7600, this shares a lot of similarities based that is on the AM5 platform, although it does have its cache reduced and also the PCI Express lanes are severely reduced. So again, if you are considering pairing this up with a dedicated GPU, just beware that regardless of what graphics card you put in here, it's only ever going to get PCI Express Gen 4 ×8 speeds out of the slot. So that is something to bear in mind if you're thinking maybe I'll pick up one of these and then when graphics cards get to a more sensible price, I'll slot in another graphics card. Potentially you can lose performance from your upgrade. Now when it comes to power requirements, this is a 65 watt TDP part, and generally under most loads will be somewhere in the region of about 80 watts under higher loads. Generally idles quite nicely, somewhere around the sort of 35 to 40 watts mark, which is pretty much normal for AM5. Although it's a shame that they didn't manage to work some of their magic that they've done in the mobile versions of this into the desktop version, where we see things like the Steam Deck and others idling at sort of like 10 to 15 watts. That would have been really, really nice, especially for those little tiny PCs. Now the reason why this makes a really good option for those of you looking for a small form factor PC with integrated graphics is the fact that this has the Radeon 760M chipset built into it. So this is going to give you up to 8 CUs, and potentially you can share the graphics memory up to around about 16 gigabytes. Although realistically for most people, I think sharing a dedicated 4 or 8 is absolutely fine. In my testing today, I've actually set the motherboard to use 8 gigabytes of RAM for the GPU, which I think is probably more than it needs, but certainly if you've got the RAM available, i.e. 32 gigs, sharing 8 gigs to your APU is probably going to make a lot of sense for those extra textures. Also, for those of you who are interested, this does actually have an AI processor built in, which can process up to 16 TOPS. So it's kind of basically useless for most things, including Windows Recall, which requires significantly more, but potentially you might have some software which can leverage a little bit of power out of that AI processor, so potentially that might be helpful for some. So I think I've waffled on way too much already, so let's take a look at some gameplay and also some benchmarks, and you can see what it runs like. So we'll start off with 3D Mark, so run 3D Mark on this one, and as you can see here, we've got a overall time spy score of 3091 points. That splits down to a graphics score of 2767 and a CPU score of 9197. CPU done pretty well there. A little bit lackluster on the graphics score, but not too bad at all. Moving on to PC Mark 10, so we've got a score here of 6,851 points, which again isn't too bad at all considering this is just an APU. Now moving on to some gameplay, so First of all, I thought I'd try something which is probably going to break it, and that is Cyberpunk, and it actually runs surprisingly well. And if you take a look at the FPS counter over on the far right hand side, you can see some of the stats there. It's not running too badly at all. It doesn't feel particularly bad, although this is running at very low settings, 1080p, and also we are using FSR 3.0. Most of the time in this we're getting frame rates in and around the sort of 50 to 60 FPS depending where you are. So if you are looking to play Cyberpunk and you don't have the ability to buy a graphics card, or you have a system which is way too small to fit a graphics card in, this is actually quite an enjoyable experience, and as you can see here, it didn't really harm my gameplay, and yeah, looked very decent indeed. And just for a sanity check, I thought I'd actually just run the built-in benchmark tool. And as you can see here, we're getting, like I said previously, in and around the sort of upper 40s, sometimes heading into the 50s. And as we get outside into the brighter lit areas, we're heading towards 60 FPS. Although with Cyberpunk, anything over 30 FPS is kind of okay, but it's nicer if you can get up towards the 60s, which we did here in quite a few places. Next up, we'll take a look at some Rocket League, and again, Rocket League is kind of one of those very easy to run titles, and this is running at 1080p, so native resolution, no scaling at all, as you'd expect. It actually plays really nicely, it's very smooth, very consistent, and of course you can turn down a lot of the settings should you want to. Running it actually in medium rather than high, actually, I felt was a little bit smoother. Again, you can see some of the gameplay here didn't affect me at all, and actually was, like I said, a very playable experience. So if Rocket League is your thing, then I think you're going to do really well on this little APU. Next up, we've got some Wreckfest action. Wreckfest is a great game, I really do like this. This is running at 1080p using the medium preset, and we're getting some pretty decent results here, quite often going over 100 FPS in some instances, and the game, I feel, still looks very, very nice. There are a few little jagged edges here and there, which you can probably pick up. Some of it is from the game capture itself, but overall, again, very nice, smooth experience. No frame drops, and if you are looking to play somewhat competitively in Wreckfest, you're not going to have any problems at all with this little APU. Next, we'll take a look at some CS2. This again, another popular esports title. This actually didn't pose any problems, and we're getting 100 FPS or thereabouts most of the time here. The settings are down to medium, 1080p, with no scaling at all. So this is running native resolution. My gameplay isn't particularly good, and I did realise that actually the batteries in my wireless keyboard were going flat, so every now and then I just stop moving for no apparent reason, like here. Yep, I'm not moving. Why am I not moving? I'm stuck. Oh, there we go. I'm on the move. Oh, I got a kill as well, and right to be killed. There we go. Anyway, runs really nicely, no problems at all. Happy days, and I didn't get onto the leaderboard. Next up, we've got some Dead Island 2. This is running 1080p and also running in the medium preset. And we're getting somewhere between kind of 60 to 100 FPS, depending where we are, which is actually really surprising. This is a relatively modern AAA type title. It looks really good. The reflections and the graphics all look pretty much as you'd expect on a normal GPU. So I was quite surprised with this. And even when you do have some fires and things like that, you do get the occasional little frame drop there, but it's nothing too disturbing. And again, I think the game looks absolutely wonderful. Now, some of you may not be big fans of blood and guts and gore, but every now and then for a little bit of unwinding, I think this is a pretty nice little title to play. And it runs really well on this APU. Again, very surprised. If you think just a few years back, trying to run this on an APU, people would laugh at you. But 1080p, medium settings, runs well, looks great, and yeah, it's pretty enjoyable overall. And next we've got some Fortnite. So this is the, when you start up, first of all, you get the few occasional frame dips here, but that is a very normal experience playing Fortnite on the modern engine. But again, it looks really nice. This is 1080p and this is native resolution. And I believe it was on either low or medium. I did actually turn off some of the settings, such as motion blur and some of the shadow settings, but I think it still looks pretty good and is very playable. 100 FPS plus in a lot of places, and up to 150 in some places, so we could probably turn the graphics settings up a little bit if need be. But again, if you want to play Fortnite and you've only got a very, very small form factor PC, this is going to be great. You're going to enjoy this a lot. I actually had a great deal of fun playing this, as I generally do, and I wouldn't say the actual enjoyment was detracted much by having slightly lower graphics settings. The game itself I don't think really requires it, and if you wanted to use the performance mode, you'd get even more out of it. You will get a warning on this when you're using the latest AMD drivers that the driver version isn't very happy and it doesn't want to run in DirectX 12 mode without having certain issues. So this is running DX11 and I did very badly, as you can see. And next up we've got Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. This is actually running 1080p. This is actually running 1080p, native resolution, no frame scaling or anything, or scaling, that sort of stuff. And we're still getting around about 30 FPS, which for Flight Sim 2020 is absolutely fine because it isn't a particularly fast moving title, as you'd expect, although your plane is moving pretty quick. Did get the occasional stutter here and there, but it wasn't too distracting. And again, this is more of a simulation than a kind of arcade type game, so little stutters here and there are going to be absolutely fine. So again, if you're looking at playing a little bit of Flight Sim 2020, you don't want to invest in a huge rig and a very expensive graphics card, then you can play this at 1080p very easily, 30 FPS plus, and it's a really enjoyable experience, and it still looks very, very nice. Still surprised me actually how well this APU does in terms of its graphical fidelity. It looks great. Now what you can do is actually, I did do this a little bit later on, and I actually put on some scaling. So this is 50% resolution, and it's really hard to tell the difference between the two. Even side by side, or even looking up close on my monitor, it's actually really difficult to tell that there was any form of scaling on. So I do think that is a very good improvement these days. Scaling technology is working much better. So if you do want to squeeze out a few more FPS out of your title, in this case actually having a 50% resolution scaling actually increased the performance by 50% in terms of FPS. So we went from roughly 30 FPS up to around about 60 FPS. Again, you don't necessarily need it, but if you do want that slightly more fluid feel to your gameplay experience, then it's always an option to turn on scaling, which years ago was a very bad thing to do and games looked absolutely awful, whereas I think this looks brilliant and it is set to medium quality settings. So yeah, overall, very enjoyable. Again, there is very much a niche market for this, but if you are in that niche, I think this is well worth looking at. So again, there is a look at some gameplay results on the Ryzen 5 8600G. Again, if I haven't made this clear already, this isn't for everyone. And if you are considering getting a graphics card and you have the ability to put a bigger motherboard together and all that kind of stuff, you pretty want to avoid this. The 7500F or the 7600 are much, much better deals. And actually on AliExpress at the moment, you can pick up things like the 7700 for basically the same money, which is a far, far superior processor. And again, if you combine it with a standard graphics card, you can have a much, much better experience. In terms of what this compares with, you could probably argue it's somewhere in the region of a GTX 1060, 3 gig, maybe some older cards like the Radeon RX 480, maybe the 570, that kind of thing. Although realistically, if you put those into most systems, for some older games, dedicated hardware is going to do significantly better. But like I've already said many, many times, if you don't have the room for a graphics card and you want some of the best gaming performance without busting the bank, then I think the 8600G is well worth looking at. But for others, basically avoid it. So there you go, there are my thoughts on the Ryzen 5 8600G. If you've enjoyed this video, smash the like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe and the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.